Hey everyone, and welcome to Real Person Reviews. I'm Sam, and I'm a real person. And today I want to talk to you about Kirby Squeak Squad for the Nintendo DS. If you don't want to see the video of it, you can always just go to the written review. I've linked it in the description below, or you can go to www.thegravelpit.net to check out the written version of the review. Either before this, or after this, or instead of this. You know, you have options. Yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way, and I also wanted to just kind of give an upfront about this, so that I'm sorry. I probably shouldn't have done this review. I didn't realize this was the first Kirby review I actually did, so, you know, it might be a little all over the place because all the stuff I gotta talk about. But I'll try to hit it as best I can, so let's just do that. So, Kirby Squeak Squad is a Kirby game, and the Kirby series started back on the Game Boy with the title Kirby's Dream Land, which I probably should have reviewed before this, but oops, I just played this now, so it's like, well, I'll just review this, and then the other ones will be easier, I guess, later, whenever I can play through them again. And Kirby's Dream Land was on the Game Boy, and then it moved on to the NES, where you had the game Kirby's Adventure, where it's actually where Kirby got his copy ability. He's this little pink guy who can walk, run, jump, duck, and he can even fly, like, infinitely in the air. It's awesome. And he has the ability to suck up enemies and shoot them out at other enemies and shoot up projectiles and stuff. There's some power-ups you can get. And some health refills along the way, because if you get hurt too much, you'll die. Or if you fall down a bottomless pit, there are certain insta-kills. There's all that kind of gamey stuff in them. But the main thing that makes Kirby interesting is his copy abilities, where you inhale enemies, and then you can hit down, and then you will transform into... basically, you just get an ability that's similar to the one that they have. So if an enemy is shooting fire at you, and you inhale them and eat them, you will then get the ability to shoot fire, just like they do. And, that was kind of the whole idea behind Kirby that was interesting since Kirby's Adventure back on the NES. And they've brought it up to here, even on the, on the DS. It's cool, right? The story is pretty simple. It's pretty basic, as most Kirby games are, because, generally most Kirby games are a little easier, a little more geared towards, they're cutesier and trying to gear towards a broader audience, I suppose. The story is pretty simple in that basically Kirby is just sitting down to eat some strawberry shortcake, and then it gets stolen by someone. He doesn't really see who stole it. At least I think that's how it went. It's a simple story, I can't even remember, because I've been playing other stuff since then. But it's something like that, like he doesn't really see who took it from him. So he's trying to investigate who took it, and he's trying to find it. He sees it, I think maybe he sees who there. I'm an idiot. You're going to see it in the intro probably anyways, so don't worry about it. But basically that gets stolen, so he's trying to go and get it back. And he fights some old familiars who might find, like King DDD and Meta Knight, are people who he thinks has stolen his strawberry shortcake. And he's also fighting off this gang of mice known as the Squeak Squad. And there's a variety of them. And you'll have to fight them to try and get these treasure chests to try and find out if your cake is in one of them. And that's neat. I think that's cool. And that's mostly the game. You go through these levels, and in each of the levels, because there's multiple worlds, and in the levels there are a certain number of treasure chests you can find. Usually they're kind of secret ones. They're either you have to do some kind of solve some sort of little puzzle in order to get it, or you have to go a specific route in order to find it and uncover it. They're like kind of secrets, and getting these chests will unlock a lot of little unlockables during the levels. Like after you bring them out to the end of the level, you'll be able to open them up, and they have things like music for the sound tests. They have these ways for you to these different palettes. You can change the color of your Kirby, and like there are some things like life upgrades, or like you can extend your life bar with them. There's all kinds of little things you can collect there that you can then look at in your collection later between levels and stuff. So that's kind of a cool little thing they threw in. So that is a thing that's interesting in this game. And also, when you're fighting these guys in the Squeak Squad, they will usually show up at the end of certain levels, and where there'll be a very big chest, and you'll grab that, which will activate a boss, which is one of the big Squeak Squad members, and they'll try to fight you. I guess maybe you call them more of like a sub-boss or a mini-boss, but if them or any of the members of the Squeak Squad hit you, you'll drop one of your treasure chests, and then they'll try to take it to their little hideout that's on the screen. And if the big boss one gets into the hideout and is in there for long enough, they'll just board up the entrance to it and you can't go into it. But if you get in there before they board it up, you still can then fight them off and get your stuff back. And basically you're trying to get to the exit without losing everything. So it's kind of an interesting, sort of like a boss fight type thing, but also kind of like trying to get out of there and avoid stuff. So it's more about, being very careful and tactful than to just, do whatever, try to brute force it, or trying to, just sneak through. It's neat. Anyways, the other thing that's kind of an interesting gimmick that they threw into this one was that you have this arsenal with you, basically. You can carry around up to 5 items in bubbles, which are shown on the touchscreen. And usually items will appear in these bubbles, and you can inhale them and put them in there. And at any time, you can tap on them, and then it'll put it into your mouth. And if it's like usually it's like you have to touch the bubble. That's how you get them. Sorry, I'm all scattered. I told you this review was gonna suck. You touch the bubbles and you'll get them. If you tap them on there in the screen, it'll put it into your mouth. You can either spit it out and try to make room for like different ones, or you can hit down to swallow it, and if it's like an ability, you can use it like that. If it's a use item, you'll just use it right away when you tap it, like the health replenishing thing. So it's an interesting little thing they threw in there. So you have like more options and availability as you go along, and it's kind of nice because then for puzzly parts, like maybe you have an item in there that or like a power up that you need to do a puzzle part later, and that you need that, so you're just gonna not use it, so you don't risk losing it before you get to that spot. But then treasure chests also take up one of these 5 slots. You only have 5 slots, so you have to kind of decide like what's worth keeping and what's something you should get rid of. You can combine many of the items inside of there as well. So like a lot of times combining two certain types of power-ups will create a different power-up. Sometimes you'll create a random thing, so it's just like it just has a question mark on it. You can tap it and it turns into a random item. Sometimes there are items that you don't even necessarily be able to pick up, or like not very frequently be able to pick up either, so that can be helpful, I suppose. It's a gamble, it's a random thing. And then there's little things like for extra lives, you have to get these little like mini Kirbys, and you can combine them into like 2 mini Kirbys, and then once you get the 3 mini Kirbys into one bubble, it just turns into a 1-up that you just get. So that's kind of neat. If you think like I need lives, you can go for that, or if you want to like risk it, be like I don't need lives, I'm gonna try to get more things for offense, or I'm gonna try to get more healing items, and certain healing items can be combined to make better healing items. It's a really cool little like system they have there. So man, it's not like too complicated or anything. So I thought that was really neat as well. And that's why you try to save room for the chests, or like if you've already got a chest before and you're coming back, you can get the chest again, but it's just going to give you like an item at the end of the stage, and maybe you don't want to bother keeping that chest or even getting it. And like if you already got the main chest, like the big boss one, you're like, well, I'm not going to get it this time, so I don't have to trigger the boss thing and risk losing other chests. It's an interesting little system. It just gives you some nice replay value, and it gives you some options for like customization and like strategy, which I think is a really welcome change to like Kirby games. And at the end of each world, there is a boss you'll have to fight, an actual big boss. And you basically just continue to do that until around the end of the game. And I'm not sure exactly how it works if you do get an ending and then like you have to go back or not. But there is a certain door where you have to get these seals to open it at one point to get to the next world. There's also like a hidden world you can get to. But I 100%ed it as I went through, so I kind of did all in one go. I don't know how it separates in different endings or anything. But basically you unlock this thing in the middle of the map that gives you the choice from like all the power-ups in the game. Plus it unlocks like a new power-up and replaces certain mini-bosses with this other like bosses. So you get the different power-up there. And basically it ends with, you you fight the final boss of the game. Like I don't want to spoil too, and I think it's a story heavy thing, but I don't want to spoil too much of it. But like you go around, you do the levels, you get the chests, you fight the bosses, and you get some collectible things along the way. Sometimes opening up extra things as you do it. I mean that's pretty much the game. It's fairly simple. There are also a few sub-games of it, and like a boss endurance one is one of them, and a few other ones that are geared around the touchscreen. And I don't know. I want to talk about like just before I go off into some other stuff. I do want to start talking about why this is so cool, because this is probably so far my favorite Kirby game that I've played. It's awesome. Because I mean, like it looks good. Like visually, Kirby games are usually pretty good looking, but like the art in this game, I think, is really pretty and very colorful and it's cute. Sound effects are really nice and like crunchy and like satisfying. Music is really cool. A lot of remixes of previous songs, but they're like kind of remixed and redone in a way that makes them really fun and catchy. Like they're some of my favorite songs from the previous Kirby games, so I think that's awesome too. And I like the element of collecting stuff and trying to find these secrets in the levels. So I kind of kept replaying the same level. If I couldn't get the thing right away, I would try to get it. And I think that's really cool that you get to have a little bit of replayability and you get a little bit of customization and some rewards for doing it without it changing too much of the actual game to do that. I really enjoyed that. It just gave me a feeling of like progression and accomplishments without me feeling like I had to go do it, and I think that's a pretty good balance there. And it wasn't terribly hard. It wasn't the easiest Kirby game I've played, but there was no point in the game where I really felt like I couldn't do something. I always felt like it's like I can do this stuff. Like it's cool. It's like it's fun, and I think that's the thing that the Kirby games in general do so well is that they're very like visually pleasing. They're very like the audio and visual department is very pleasing, very cute and satisfying, and they're about kind of just going around and doing stuff and like having fun, and that's why I think it's really awesome. It's like you just kind of go around and like have fun with stuff. It's cool. I don't know, like there was a lot of cool little secret things and stuff. It's just overall it's a really satisfying experience, and there's actually quite a bit to the game. There's a lot of levels, and you'll probably get a good amount of playtime on this, especially for a Kirby game, which usually I think a lot of those have been kind of short. I feel like this one has a pretty good length to it, and I was just really impressed with it. And if you beat the game, you also can unlock an extra mode, which is basically just a time trial mode. And of course the boss endurance mode, which is just fighting all the bosses in a row. You get to pick which items you want in your like arsenal, and then after that you have to beat all of them in a row and see if you can do that. So it's nice for a little bit of a challenge. And yeah, extra mode is really just the same game with a time limit on each level, so you try to get everything as fast as you can. I guess if you're into that kind of challenge and trying to challenge yourself, that's neat. And with the multiplayer, I do think that, which is in the Subgames, I do think that it's cool. Like I like that you can do either like multi-card with meaning you both have the game, single card, which means only one of you has the game, but you can still like kind of connect locally with it, or even single player for all these little mini games for the Subgames as they are. I think that was really cool that you were able to do that with it, so that was a nice touch. However, this is where I want to start talking about the things that bug me about the game. And while there's not a lot, the sub-games were a big part of it. And up front, I don't really like the touchscreen controls. I just don't. All of them are based on that. One of the mini-games is basically just like you versus another person, and there's like a cake in the middle of the screen. Like there's like a tray, and they take the top off the tray. And then you have to quick tap on all of the cakes. And, if you tap on it, you get it. And you're trying to get a certain number to win. And then some of these are bigger than others, so they count as more. But you have to be careful because some of them, most of them, like the good ones, have strawberries on the top. And bad ones, he'll have a bomb sitting on the top. And if you hit that, then like it comes into you and like it blows up. And it's like, then you have to wait out a turn. And it's like, you think like, oh, the other person can just get all the stuff. But at least they made it so like, sometimes it goes pretty fast. So that other person doesn't necessarily have all the time in the world to just sit there and stare at the thing. And like that one works okay. I'll say that one works okay, even though sometimes it felt like sometimes it did feel like it didn't register my presses, but whatever. Maybe they pressed it first because they're a computer. I don't know. I didn't play with someone, so there's that. There's a game also where you're on top of a star and you kind of use your stylus on the touchscreen to swipe which way you want to move, and then you look on the top screen where you actually stuff is happening. You're trying to knock other players off and these other like NPCs and stuff to get points. You can also charge up by holding, like pressing and holding on Kirby, and then swiping in a direction to shoot a charge shot at someone, like to rush them, I guess. And that's neat, but overall it's kind of boring, I guess. I don't know. And again, it's like it felt like really floaty. Like sometimes it worked, sometimes it went like the wrong way, or sometimes it just sometimes it just like it didn't feel like the stuff I was doing was like working the same. Like it wasn't consistent. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that was just me. There's also the other game, which is one where there are 3 treasure chests, and every once in a while a thing will pop up above them, and you swipe to get them, like, you know, swipe middle, just swipe up to get the one in the middle, diagonal left, and like diagonal up left and diagonal up right to get the ones on the sides. That's it. And you want to get the good treasure, you don't want to get the bad treasure, because there's bad ones like a bomb that'll make it so you can't, you know, attack for a while. And it's they're mini games, and I get it. They work okay, but they're just really annoying, and I feel like, especially after having such a good time with the main game, like these are just like, ew, like these are like tacked on, like you just had to do them because it was a DS game, and you wanted to have some excuse to be like, oh, there's multiplayer, I guess. Maybe it's fun with other people, but I just found it really annoying, and not that fun. Against the computers, I guess. Other things, it was a little annoying that you couldn't, like, save. There's no, like, save button or icon or message saying when you save. And I guess it's because it saves really fast. It saves after you beat every level, but I wish it would have just told me that. That would have been nice also. And then, like, I don't know, like, I mean, that was mostly it, I guess. There wasn't too much else, I don't think, that was really that annoying about the game. You know, it was kind of cool, like, unlock abilities and all that other stuff, I guess. But, like, there was something else I thought that bugged me, but maybe, you know, obviously it wasn't too big of a deal, because, you know, I can't even think of it now, so it didn't really bother me too much. Just wish I could have kind of saved, I guess. Would have been neat. Oh, well, that's all I had for that. I don't have the box, so Kirby, Squeak Squad. I don't even know if you could read that here. Look how tiny this thing is. These are tiny. It's ridiculous. So Kirby Squeak Squad is fun. It's probably the best Kirby game I played. At least my favorite. I really like all the little things. It's a good length of a game. I like all the great polish on it of how it looks and how it feels. That it's just really fun and satisfying, and there's like a lot to it. And I like the little you know, the progression, almost RPG-ish in a way progression, but I guess you find the stuff of like extending your life bar and getting extra stuff for the copy abilities, because there's a bunch of copy abilities and most of them can do multiple things, like more than they can do in some of the other games before this. I think that's awesome. So it made all the abilities really fun to play around with and use, and try out all these new ones, and then try out the same ones you had before, because you get these scrolls to learn extra moves for them, which I should have mentioned in the main part, but I'm horrible at reviewing things. So, it's awesome. It's a really good time. If you have a DS or a 3DS, I really recommend checking it out, because it's a lot of fun. Especially for like Kirby games too. It's a really great Kirby game with a lot of stuff to it, and I think it's definitely worth playing. I don't know what else to say, I guess. What was your favorite Kirby game? Is so far right now, this one is mine, and you'll start seeing the other ones I've played, I guess, soon. I did play Epic Yarn a bit, but I didn't finish it, because my Wii broke, and I did play, what was that other one? I mean, a bit of The Amazing Mirror, and I got rid of it, because I wasn't really into it. I didn't finish it, but it was... Anyways, that's the thing. So that's my review, I guess. Anything else for the game? Like, what was What was your favorite Kirby spray paint to have in this if you've played it? But I like the orange Kirby. I use orange Kirby like ever since I got him. Whole time. Checked out the other ones. I was like, nope. Gotta be orange Kirby. Gotta be orange Kirby.